2. With the addition of Li Yu, the pressure on Zhou Yuan instantly multiplied. With the strength of 8 sovereign masters, it was naturally easy for him to deal with Liu Kai with his full strength. However, Li Yu's strength had already reached the monarch spirit, which was more than a level stronger than him. Wu, caught off guard, Zhou Yuan, who had just dodged Li Yu's palm, was kicked in the right arm by Liu Kai. The powerful force caused Zhou Yuan's hand, which was holding the bone sword, to tremble, and he almost couldn't hold it. Damn it! It's all because of the advancement of the fighting monarch of lower realm. What right does Xiao Yan have to kill a 6 paths monarch spirit? I can't even fight him face to face. Zhou Yuan was roaring madly in his heart. As a proud son of heaven, he naturally couldn't allow anyone who had the same starting point as him to surpass him. Seeing Liu Kai smiling coldly and charging forward once again, Zhou Yuan also gave a ferocious smile. His eyes faintly flickered with a frightening red light as he rushed forward without hesitation. Brat, you are truly capable. With the strength of 6 paths sovereign master, you have killed a 6 paths monarch spirit. This is the first time I've seen you in my life. If you have advanced to the monarch spirit, I'm afraid I won't be your match anymore. Li Hong looked at the man and beast in front of him and said with a serious expression. Is that so? Xiao Yan revealed an inexplicable smile. You can give it a try. Little rascal. With Li Hong's pride as a peak of monarch spirit, he was mocked by a sovereign master today. No matter what this sovereign master's means were, he would still be the one who got slapped in the face. He furiously shouted. Li Hong's body suddenly rushed towards Xiao Yan. His strength had also risen to its peak. His 5 fingers turned into claws, and he rushed towards Xiao Yan like a fierce tiger that had descended from the mountain. Facing Li Hong, who was using his full strength, Xiao Yan naturally wouldn't dare to be careless. With his current strength, he would be the only one who would be at a disadvantage if he fought him head-on. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to use any more methods to deal with Rek. The blue flame ruler had already appeared in his hand as he flipped his palm. The crimson gold flame on it danced slowly, causing the air to tremble wherever it passed. Xiao Ao, go! Clenching the blue flame ruler tightly, Xiao Yan and the Xiaoao's minds were connected as they softly cried out in their hearts. A man and a beast. One on the left and one on the right, they attacked Li Hong. Li Hong showed a contemptuous smile when he saw Xiao Yan coming at him. However, since he had been sent flying by Suo Quan's palm strike, he dared not be careless. A layer of armor formed by faint origin monarch cheese instantly appeared on his body. His right hand formed 5 claws and pushed toward Xiao Yan's huge ruler. He formed a fist with his left hand and punched at the Xiaoao with a fierce wind. Bang! As the wind passed by, the whistling blue flame ruler seemed to be blocked by an invisible force. It was in a deadlock for a moment before it was bounced back. Xiao Yan was also forced to take a few steps back due to the huge impact. The Xiaoao rolled over like a fireball and collided with Li Hong's fist wind. Immediately, it raised its head up to the sky and hissed. Its aggressive attack was on par with Li Hong's full-strength punch. After blocking Xiao Yan and the Xiaoao's attack with his palm and fist, Li Hong sneered and looked at the frustrated Xiaoao. He rubbed his numb left arm and said with a proud smile, "Kid, your spirit beast is not bad. After you die, I will take care of it for you." Xiao Yan looked at Li Hong indifferently. The corner of his mouth formed a smile. Shameless boasting. Do you have the qualifications? As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Yan rushed towards Li Hong. At the same time, there was a faint trace of lightning on the blue flame ruler that was raised high up in the air. He attacked Li Hong with killing intent. Since you want to die so badly, then I'll fulfill your wish. Sensing the killing intent from Xiao Yan's body, Li Hong smiled disdainfully. However, his eyes revealed an unprecedented seriousness. Roar! The Xiaoao raised its head to the sky and howled. Its 4 legs rushed towards Li Hong like a gust of wind. All the energy in its body was gathered in its vigorous forelimbs, and it trampled towards Li Hong as if it was crushing mountains and rivers. Profound extreme scattering hand. Li Hong furiously shouted. The origin monarch cheese on his hands surged and instantly covered both of Li Hong's hands. The origin monarch cheese circulated rapidly on his hands. It was filled with a frightening pressure. Ha! Li Hong roared out loudly. He pushed both of his hands forward at the same time, and caught Xiao Yan's blue flame ruler with his palm. Then, he blocked the Xiaoao's powerful kick with his palm. Seeing the blue flame ruler being easily blocked by Li Hong, Xiao Yan was slightly shocked. The strength of a peak of Monarch Spirit Warrior was indeed not bad. Back then, he had killed Rek indirectly because of luck. Ow! When the Xiaoao saw that Li Hong had blocked the kick that it was determined to get rid of, the continuous failures made it very angry. Its body flashed, and a fiery light shot out from its forelimbs like a shooting star, piercing towards Li Hong's face at an unparalleled speed. Within the fiery light was a smaller Xiao Yi. Under the control of the Xiao Yi, the fiery light shot out like an arrow, accurately heading towards its target. Li Hong, whose mind had always been tense, immediately sensed the fiery light the moment it appeared. His expression became serious as an origin monarch chi surged out from within his body. It turned into an invisible chi web that surrounded the fiery light. Buzz! The flame that was trapped within the chi web struggled for a moment. However, it was obvious that it was unable to break free. The strength of the Xiaoao was around the peak of the D Shi class. Although the strength of the Xiao Yi had increased significantly due to the eruption of the 3000 lightning monarch flame, Hong Long. Taking advantage of the moment when Li Hong focused his attention on the Xiaoao, the origin monarch chi in Xiao Yan's body surged out crazily. In an instant, the golden blue flame ruler on the lightning arcs kept moving around, corroding Li Hong's defense like sharp blades. 8-directional thunder ruler. All of a sudden, the golden lightning arcs on the surface of the ruler trembled intensely. It immediately cracked apart with a loud bang. It resounded by the ears of the two like a sudden clap of thunder. In the next moment, the enormous energy ripple that was caused by the explosion of the golden lightning arcs spread out. It spread in all directions like ripples of death. Thunder rumbled unceasingly. The moment Li Hong reacted, the energy wave had already exploded with a loud bang. Being attacked by the 8-directional thunder ruler at such a close distance, Li Hong was shocked. He did not even have the time to use his technique. In the nick of time, he had managed to cover his entire body with the origin monarch chi. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Li Hong's body was sent flying backwards. The blue flame ruler smashed onto the ground like a meteorite from outer space. A spiderweb-like crack immediately spread out from the ground and spread in all directions. After succeeding in his attack, Xiao Yan looked over. Although this attack had caught Li Hong off guard, it still managed to catch him off guard. His 8-directional thunder ruler was only a mid-grade monarch spell, and it could be said that the damage it dealt to the peak of monarch spirit Li Hong was extremely weak. Just as Li Hong was sent flying backwards, Zhou Yuan also suffered a heavy blow from Liu Kai. The bone sword in his hand emitted a white sword light. At the same time, a frightening red light shot out from his red eyes. The red light seemed to have a kind of mind-blowing power. The man in black named Li Yu stiffened for a moment before the sword light hit him. At this moment, the white sword light hit him like a meteor. Li Yu let out a miserable scream and stumbled to the ground. He actually didn't die. After calming down the origin monarch chi in his body, Zhou Yuan looked at Li Yu, who was struggling to stand up, and a sense of defeat emerged in his heart. He had used all of his trump cards, but he still couldn't kill a 6th Dao monarch spirit. "I'll kill you first." After dodging Liu Kai's attack, Zhou Yuan furiously shouted. The bone sword was wrapped in a dark light, and he suddenly rushed towards Li Yu. Swoosh! A sound of wind breaking was heard. Zhou Yuan's body, which was rushing forward, immediately stopped. A black shadow had already brushed past his face. Looking at it, it was actually the corpse of the guard called Luo Cheng, who was standing beside Suo Quan. The man in black who had killed Luo Ben threw his corpse over, blocking Zhou Yuan's attack. Taking advantage of this short period of time, Li Yu endured the intense pain and left Zhou Yuan far away. Bastard! I was actually injured by a sovereign master. Li Yu covered his bleeding abdomen and looked at Zhou Yuan, who was being entangled by Liu Kai. His eyes were filled with hatred. Swoosh! Another sound of wind breaking was heard. A dead body was thrown to the ground. Zhou Yuan looked up and his mouth was filled with bitterness. Not far away, Wu Zishan threw Suo Quan's body to the ground with a face full of ecstasy. He held a dark golden scroll in his hand. The scroll was colorful and full of extravagance. "It's over." Zhou Yuan's legs trembled. His heart was filled with disappointment and anger, but what followed next was endless powerlessness. After so many days of planning, it was all in vain. That is, Saint-grade monarch skill? Looking at the scroll in Wu Zishan's hand, Xiao Yan could naturally feel the endless power contained in it with his soul power. Looks like I have to fight with my life on the line. Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly. The two types of flames in his body were ready to move. Wu Zishan looked at the dark golden scroll in his hand with burning eyes, and his breathing began to quicken. It was a saint-level monarch skill. This was something that even the heavenly sovereign expert was jealous of. The birth of every saint-grade monarch skill would undoubtedly cause a storm. In his knowledge, he had never seen a saint-grade monarch skill being auctioned in any auction house. The most shocking one was the auction of a middle-grade monarch arts. The treasure that was the finale of the auction was sold by a few powerful sects for nearly 6 million. The scroll that was worth nearly 10 million was now lying quietly in his hand. For a moment, even with Wu Zishan's composure, he couldn't help but frown. I heard that this thing was unearthed by that old man from Deyang County in the ruins of an ancient expert. The good stuff from before has been taken away. Finally, when Suo Quan and the others sealed the entrance, they accidentally found it in a hidden tunnel. Ha ha! The heavens really have eyes. When I succeed in my cultivation, the position of county governor Lin Xing will definitely be mine. With time, even the position of the county governor will have a high chance. Wu Zishan couldn't help but laugh towards the sky. At this moment, an aura that caused him to tremble came from not far away. This thing, feeling this power that made his heart tremble, Wu Zishan was shocked. He put the scroll in his hand into the storage ring and looked in the direction of the terrifying power. This is... Wu Zishan's eyes swept across the Xiao that was fighting Li Hong. He then shifted his gaze to the back of the two. Not far away, he saw Xiao Yan extending both of his hands. The golden flame on his right hand was dancing slowly, and the red flame on his left hand was burning. The destructive force of the two flames made Wu Zishan's back break out in cold sweat. Sensing Wu Zishan's gaze, Xiao Yan raised his head and smiled coldly. Then, under the shocked expression of the latter, the two flames slowly merged with each other under the full control of Xiao Yan's true monarch stage soul. Hiss! The moment the two flames came into contact, a frightening aura that shook one's heart erupted from within, causing the air in this place to hiss. Everyone was startled when they sensed the intense flow of air in the air. They looked in the direction of Xiao Yan. When they sensed the enormous destructive force contained within the two flames that were merging bit by bit in the latter's hand, everyone's expressions changed drastically. This fellow has gone crazy. Zhou Yuan's face was pale as he looked at Xiao Yan, who was fully focused on controlling the two flames. The force that caused his heart to palpitate was unleashed, and the chi of destruction was slowly formed. As a proud son of heaven from the lower realm, he naturally knew this feeling. When he was roaming freely in the lower realm, he also had a powerful trump card, but it was always him who made others feel powerless. This time, he felt a strong sense of powerlessness from a young man who was similar to him. It was like a wild weed growing in Zhou Yuan's heart. I'm actually afraid. Wu Zishan's breathing became more and more rapid. He used his trembling hands to wipe the sweat that kept popping out of his forehead. For a moment, he had forgotten to attack. He had only felt this kind of intense terror from a monarch emperor like the princess of Linxing County. Kiki. Xiao Yan clenched his teeth tightly. Both of his eyes were red as he looked at the two flames in front of him. His soul power flowed out from between his eyebrows without any reservation, controlling the two flames. The clothes on his chest also suddenly exploded, and a faintly discernible word appeared. Immediately, the light on it surged. The destructive aura that was emitted from the two flames seemed to have found an outlet to vent. All of it was poured into the light emitted by the characters. Ah! He howled in pain. Xiao Yan's eyes turned red. The pain that penetrated his soul instantly spread throughout his body. Almost every cell of his body was trembling. Traces of blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth due to his clenched teeth. Because he had been through many trials in the illusion realm, this pain was not enough to make him faint from the pain. When Wu Zishan sensed the terrifying aura that had suddenly disappeared from the world, he realized that his back was wet. Staring at the two flames that were merging with Xiao Yan's palm, Wu Zishan let out a loud roar. His chi rushed towards Xiao Yan. This young man who was no more than a sovereign master had given him too much of a threat and shock. It made him feel fear from the bottom of his heart. If he didn't get rid of this brat, he would definitely become a threat to the future. What kind of joke is this? He will die. In terms of knowledge and experience, Zhou Yuan, who had ventured into the lower realm, was many times stronger than Wu Zishan. Therefore, he understood the true power of this trump card. Taking advantage of the fact that Liu Kai and Li Yu were focusing on Xiao Yan, Zhou Yuan circulated the remaining origin monarch qis in his body. With a flash, he had already fled into the distance. Liu Kai was just about to give chase when Yan Chong, who was also rushing towards Xiao Yan, shouted coldly. Forget it. With that fellow's strength, you will only be courting death if you go after him. It won't be too late to deal with him after killing him with all your strength. Yan Chong had already rushed towards Xiao Yan after he finished speaking. The might that the latter had displayed earlier had also given him a fright. Under that kind of might, he was like an ant that was unable to put up any resistance. Xiao Yan, who was fully focused on controlling the flames, was unable to spare any thoughts to observe what was happening. The integration of the Fire Lotus required a large amount of origin monarch qis. The battle with Li Hong just now had consumed a lot of them, even though the flame mantra had evolved into an evolved version. Middle-grade imperial cultivation technique is still too late to replenish. Feeling a wave of weakness in his body, and hearing the angry roars of a few people, Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and endured the intense pain. Just as he was about to throw out the incomplete Fire Lotus, he suddenly heard the hissing sound of Xiao Ao's. Seeing the few people attacking Xiao Yan together, the Xiao Ao nimbly dodged the palm of Li Hong. It faced the sky and hissed. Its body was covered in flames. In an instant, two Xiao Aos appeared on the back of the Xiao Ao. One was a golden color, and the other was a red color. As the fire wings flapped, wisps of flames that caused the air to buzz appeared out of thin air. While everyone was still in shock, the Xiao Ao once again let out a hissing sound. The fire wings vibrated at an extremely fast speed, and every time it pounced, it would vibrate. Flames surged out from its body, and shot towards Wu Zishan and the others like a meteor shower. Ah! Li Yu let out a painful cry when he accidentally got hit by the flame. The flame attached to his body was like a maggot attached to his bones. It started burning crazily, turning Li Yu into a fireman. In an instant, he lost all signs of life. What a bastard! Everyone took a deep breath. Wu Zishan's eyes became serious. He looked at the Xiao Ao, whose aura was getting lower and lower, and snorted coldly. So that's how it is. Exhausting one's own origin to fight, there's no need to be afraid of hurting one's foundation. With a low shout, the origin monarch qi in Wu Zishan's body instantly formed a layer of armor. His body quickly rushed forward. The flames shot out by the Xiao Ao only made the armor on his body dim a little when they hit his body. After fighting Li Hong for a while, and now he had used up his source to stop everyone, the Xiao Ao was exhausted even though it was the reincarnation of a divine beast. It could only watch helplessly as Wu Zishan's fist, which was powerful enough to shatter a mountain rock, was thrown at it. Boom! After being hit by Wu Zishan's punch, the Xiao Ao flew backwards with a sorrowful cry. It crashed heavily into the mountain wall, causing the stone on the mountain wall to shake. Visible cracks spread out behind it. He actually didn't die. Seeing the Xiao Ao struggling to stand up again, Wu Zishan was also shocked. With the full strength of his Seven Paths Emperor, this fire horse that was only a high-rank spirit beast could still stand up. Snorting coldly, Wu Zishan waved his hand. He said in a cold voice, "Even if he isn't dead, I guess he is already crippled. Let's just kill him." After saying that, Wu Zishan looked at Xiao Yan. Just as he was about to speak, his facial expression changed dramatically. Not far in front of him, Xiao Yan had already slowly opened his eyes. In his hand, an exquisite scarlet golden fire lotus was slowly rotating. The fire lotus looked magnificent, but Wu Zishan could feel the terrifying power contained within it that could destroy everything. Xiao Yan's emotionless eyes looked at the Xiao Ao that was struggling to stand on the mountain wall. His eyes were immediately filled with endless killing intent. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and sneered as he looked at Wu Zishan and the others in front of him. "Sorry for the long wait, everyone. Thank you for your hard work just now. Please accept this big gift." Everyone could hear the endless fury in his voice. The exquisite fire lotus was completely golden in color. It was as if it was carved out of jade, crystal clear and translucent. It was as if a lotus had emerged from the water, and the carvings were naturally removed. However, underneath the exquisite surface, there was a vast aura of destruction. As the fire lotus rotated, the space beside it and you were destroyed along with it. Waves of heart-shaking ripples spread out like a sickle that could take one's life. It was breathtaking. Wu Zishan's body stiffened slightly. His face was filled with terror as he looked at the pale face of Xiaoyan. His heart was filled with panic. Retreat! With an angry shout, Wu Zishan turned around and tried to escape. This fire lotus had given him a tremendous amount of pressure and terror. Go! Xiaoyan revealed a mocking expression. His hand gently landed. The fire lotus in his hand was just like an arrow that was released from a bow as it quietly cut through the space. Wherever the fire lotus passed, the space would be destroyed one after another. A shocking space black hole flashed and disappeared. In an instant, the fire lotus had arrived beside Wu Zishan and the others. Everyone was frightened when they sensed the destructive aura on the fire lotus. Li Hong, whose strength was second only to Wu Zishan, had lost a large amount of his origin monarch qi during the battle with the Xiaoao. He had become the last one to retreat with Wu Zishan. The fire lotus that was rushing over from behind caused him to feel a threat of death. The fire lotus's speed was like a shooting star. In the blink of an eye, it had caught up with the few people who were running away. It was as if a rock had been thrown into a calm water surface, and it instantly rippled with death ripples. Bang! A bright light flashed across the surface of the fire lotus. In the next moment, a loud explosion that shook the sky erupted. The scarlet golden ripples could be seen with the naked eye. Circles of ripples rushed out in all directions, and an unparalleled power instantly turned the mountain walls on both sides into ashes. Rumble! The soaring smoke rose into the clouds. The lazy white clouds in the sky were torn apart. The ground shook violently, rocks flew everywhere, and ancient trees pierced through the air. The heat waves from the explosion spread for several miles, turning everything into ashes. Xiaoyan, who was sent flying by the explosion, crashed into the mountain wall. His weak body could no longer hold on, and he fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and his face was extremely pale. Even so, Xiaoyan's eyes were still bright as he stared at the center of the explosion. His heart was filled with regret. This time, he was afraid that he would not be able to protect the Saint-grade monarch skill. Damn it! Zhou Yuan, who had fled not far away, felt a huge impact that almost broke through the sky. He was shocked. He had underestimated the power of Xiaoyan's trump card. The violent impact arrived in an instant. Zhou Yuan was sent flying hundreds of meters away before he could defend himself. His head hit a huge rock and he fainted. The smoke that filled the sky only slowly scattered after a moment. What entered his eyes was a desolate land. The mountain walls on both sides had already disappeared. A large piece of scorched earth appeared. Wu Zishan and the rest had already completely turned into ashes. The power of the Btth2 Fury fire lotus that was merged with the monarch flame did not disappoint Xiaoyan. The power that was created in front of him also made him quite satisfied. The Xiaoao had already turned into a cluster of fire and entered his body. In Xiaoyan's senses, the Xiaoao was currently riddled with injuries and needed a long period of recuperation within the Emperor Fire Source. Struggling to stand up, Xiaoyan turned around and looked at Mount Daqing behind him. He knew that he couldn't stay here any longer. If any heavenly beast was attracted by the explosion, he would have no way to escape. What a pity! That saint-grade monarch skill. Recovering from his thoughts, Xiaoyan muttered to himself regretfully. Just as he was about to leave, his eyes were suddenly attracted by the bright dark golden light at the center of the explosion. Xiaoyan's heart skipped a beat, and he dragged his injured body to the place where the light was coming from. When he saw the light clearly, he was immediately overjoyed. He saw a dark golden scroll lying quietly on the ground. On the scroll, the dark golden light formed a protective shield that flowed like flowing water. The violent explosion just now had no injuries at all. As expected of the saint-grade monarch skill, Xiaoyan was surprised and happy. He picked up the scroll with a slight tremble. The bright dark golden light that was in his hand immediately dissipated, and the smooth scroll lay quietly in Xiaoyan's hand. Phew! Xiaoyan took a long breath to calm his excitement. He put the scroll back into his storage ring and looked around. There was no sign of Zhou Yuan, and his soul power could not sense any trace of Zhou Yuan. Could he be dead? Xiao Yan shook his head as soon as this thought appeared in his mind. With that fellow's shrewdness, how could he die just like that? After calming down, Xiao Yan threw a medicine pill that could restore medicine pills into his mouth. Without any time to absorb it, he quickly left this place. At the same time, his soul energy surrounded his body. The prestige power spell was also unleashed, completely concealing his aura. Around an hour later, a ray of light suddenly flashed across the quiet sky. The ray of light scattered, and the figure of a white-haired old man wearing a gray robe slowly appeared. The white-haired old man carefully looked at the scene of destruction below. His eyes revealed a shocked expression as he mumbled, "Look at this destructive force. Could it be that there was an Emperor cultivation-level warrior fighting here just now?" After observing for a moment, the white-haired old man shook his head in denial. He lifted his head and looked at his surroundings. With both of his eyes closed, the powerful Origin Monarch Chi had already soared into the sky. The Origin Monarch Chi, which seemed to have gained corporeal form, swiftly swept across this place. A moment later, the white-haired old man opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with doubt. After which, he shook his head helplessly. He was just about to leave when he suddenly cried out in surprise. His body flashed and he appeared beside the unconscious Zhou Yuan. "There is actually an Emperor Master here?" The white-haired old man looked at the unconscious Zhou Yuan. His hand was placed on the latter's head. He carefully sensed it and said in surprise, "What a young fellow. There is actually such a powerful aura within his body. Could it be that the fighting monarch of lower realm has advanced?" After pondering for a moment, the white-haired old man lifted Zhou Yuan up and said with a smile, "It just so happens that an old friend of mine in the star field keeps telling me that he wants a good disciple. Since it is the advancement of the fighting monarch of lower realm, I believe that his disposition is not bad. This can also be considered your lucky chance." As he spoke, the white-haired old man had already soared into the sky. With a sway of his body, he had already left this place with Zhou Yuan. Xiao Yan, who was far away from the valley where the battle was taking place, dragged his wounded body along as he ran. Finally, he arrived at a dense and uninhabited forest. This was the closest city to this place. Four Direction City was only half a day's journey. Standing on the plains outside the dense forest, one could see the sparse villages as far as the eye could see. Leaning against the trunk of an ancient tree, Xiao Yan powerlessly sat down. Feeling the weakness in his body, Xiao Yan rolled his eyes and used the Btth2 Fury Fire Lotus. It didn't consume too much of his body, but the most important thing was the damage of the prestige power spell. The pain that penetrated deep into his soul caused his entire body to instinctively feel pain. "No, I have to think of a way. Otherwise, it won't be a problem for this thing to keep going crazy," he muttered to himself. Xiao Yan flipped his palm, and a dark golden scroll appeared in his hand. Xiao Yan looked at the scroll in his hand, and his eyes instantly became fiery. He had heard about the rarity and power of the Saint-Grade Monarch skill from Elder Yi when he was in the Illusion Realm. The raw materials of the Blue Flame Ruler, the Gray Flame Iron, were about the same as the Saint-Grade Monarch skill. The Blue Flame Ruler that was formed was only stronger than a spiritual weapon. If he could learn this Saint-Grade Monarch skill, its power wouldn't be weaker than the Btth2 Fury Fire Lotus. It's a pity that those Monarch crystals and those spirit weapons are useless. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan let out a light sigh. He didn't expect that the Btth2 Fury Fire Lotus fused with the Monarch Flame would be so powerful that it could destroy everything, including the indestructible storage ring. Only the Saint-Grade Monarch skill was preserved with its powerful ability. Holding the dark golden scroll, Xiao Yan placed it between his eyebrows. His soul power flowed out and poured into the scroll. The soul energy easily entered the scroll. While Xiao Yan was surprised, the scene in his mind changed. Instantly, a vast world appeared in his mind. Immediately after, an incomparably vast force surged from all directions, as if piercing through the blue sky and crushing down on Xiao Yan. Woo! Caught off guard, Xiao Yan's soul force was violently struck. Xiao Yan's face turned even paler. A trace of blood quietly flowed out from his ears. Luckily, he had been continuously tempered by the prestige power spell. Xiao Yan's soul force only trembled for a moment before it recovered. After that, the prestige power spell that was closely related to his soul force suddenly erupted, resisting this holy might. After fighting for a moment, this holy power suddenly disappeared. Under Xiao Yan's surprised gaze, a red-haired boy with a cold expression slowly appeared. Zero. This vast world was boundless. The entire world was a crimson color, like an endless fire field. The moment the red-haired boy appeared, the entire world seemed to be centered around him, filled with endless dominance. The red-haired boy was only a few inches tall, and was only slightly larger than the Xiao Yi. However, such a petite body, in Xiao Yan's senses, hid a power that caused him to tremble in fear. The red-haired boy raised his head, and his cold gaze swept across Xiao Yan's soul body like 10,000 years of ice. A trace of killing intent quickly filled his body. Human. These two short words were like a thunderclap that resounded in Xiao Yan's mind. It caused Xiao Yan's soul body to tremble slightly, and he felt a sharp pain. Xiao Yan was instantly shocked. His soul power had been tempered by the prestige power spell, and he was no longer afraid of ordinary soul attacks. He never thought that this fellow would cause his soul to feel pain just by saying these two words. Humph. True monarch stage soul. Sovereign master's strength. Trying to assimilate me with such a weak soul and obtain my strength is just wishful thinking. The red-haired boy's body trembled slightly and disappeared after his voice sounded. In the next instant, he appeared in front of Xiao Yan. The red-haired boy casually raised his hand and threw a punch at Xiao Yan. As the punch was swung, the entire world instantly shook. It was as if the heavens and the earth had been destroyed. An endless amount of power was unleashed from the punch. Xiao Yan felt a chill run down his spine when he sensed the force contained within the punch that could shake the heavens and earth. If this punch landed, his body, which was formed from the soul of a true monarch stage, would definitely be destroyed. At that time, the damage to his soul would be light. Just as Xiao Yan was about to disperse his soul body, the space in front of him suddenly rippled. Two flames suddenly appeared. One was red and the other was golden. Monarch flame? Seeing the two flames, a strange light flashed in the red-haired boy's eyes. His fist, which was as fast as lightning, was only half an inch away from the two flames. The two flames quickly merged into one, turning into Xiao Yi's. The Xiao Yi jumped to the red-haired boy's side, and with a squeaking sound, it said something. The red-haired boy frowned slightly, crossed his arms over his chest, and puffed up his small face to listen to the Xiao Yi's words. Woo! Seeing the two people in front of him using words that he did not understand, Xiao Yan recovered from his shock. He opened his mouth, but in the end, he tactfully did not speak. He wiped the non-existent sweat off his forehead. Xiao Yan began to size up this world. Could this be a world that only holy-grade monarch skill has? Good, this is unbelievable. I just heard that guy say that he can obtain his strength. Could it be that he must defeat him in order to cultivate the saint-grade monarch skill? Or is there some other reason? Xiao Yan couldn't figure it out. While he was pondering, the Xiao Yi had already jumped back onto Xiao Yan's shoulder. Kid, you actually have two types of monarch flames. Very good. Since it's like this, it doesn't count as insulting my identity. However, your strength is too weak. The red-haired boy's furious voice suddenly appeared in Xiao Yan's mind. Although his voice was still cold, it lacked a trace of killing intent. Hearing this, Xiao Yan helplessly smiled. Regarding this fact, he really had nothing to say. At this time, the Xiao Yi on Xiao Yan's shoulder suddenly spoke. It said crisply, "It is precisely because of my weak strength that I need your help." Hearing the Xiao Yi speak in human language, Xiao Yan wasn't too surprised. After all, it was a fire spirit that had fused with the Chaos Great Monarch Flame and the 3000 Lightning Monarch Flame. It was truly inconceivable that it didn't even have this bit of ability. When the red-haired boy heard this, a proud smile actually appeared in his cold eyes. He said, "All right, since you have two kinds of monarch flames, then I'll reluctantly agree." As he spoke, he waved his small hand, and his body transformed into a trace of dark golden light that instantly entered the chest of the Xiao Yi. The Xiao Yi let out a soft cry, and involuntarily transformed into a ball of crimson gold flame. It started burning crazily. Then, under Xiao Yan's astonished expression, this vast and boundless world shattered with a loud bang. Boundless might surged into the flames. The crimson gold flame instantly shot up into the sky, illuminating the darkness of the space, causing it to shine brightly. In the next moment, the soaring flames dissipated one after another, turning into a rain of fire that filled the sky, slowly forming a few large characters of fire. Beginner level Holy Arts Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body. The power of the 9 large characters of flame was profound and eternal, causing a loud noise in the boundless space. After that, the 9 big characters trembled slightly under the shocked gaze of Xiao Yan before disappearing. At the same time, the Xiao Yi had already appeared on Xiao Yan's shoulder. After a short exchange with the Xiao Yi, Xiao Yan finally understood a series of strange things. Each Saint-grade Monarch skill contained a skill spirit. In order to practice the Saint-grade Monarch skill, one must assimilate the skill spirit within it in order to comprehend it. However, every skill spirit was an invincible existence within the scroll world because he could control the entire scroll world. Under such circumstances, in order to assimilate the skill spirit, one needed to have a powerful strength. This also caused the Saint-grade Monarch skill to not be mastered by anyone who was not at the Emperor cultivation or above. As the skill spirit of the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body, the reason why the red-haired boy listened to Little Yi's words was that the Holy Arts was similar to the secret arts. Borrowing the power of the flames to increase one's strength in a short period of time, the strongest flame in the world was definitely the Monarch Flame. To the red-haired boy, possessing the Monarch Flame was not an insult to the reputation of the Saint-grade Monarch skill. Therefore, after saying good things about the Xiao Yi for a long time, the red-haired boy agreed with satisfaction. Xiao Yan was speechless for a long time after hearing this. He had to admit that luck played a huge role this time. If it wasn't for the fact that this Monarch skill was a secret technique, if it wasn't for the Xiao Yi, and if he didn't have the Monarch Flame, it would be impossible for him to assimilate it with his own strength. Looks like I won't have any extravagant hopes for the Saint-grade Monarch skill in the future. Even if I do have one, it's not something I can swallow. Xiao Yan shook his head with a bitter smile. He put away his complacency because of the Saint-grade Monarch skill. This time, if it wasn't for all kinds of coincidences, he could only use the Saint-grade Monarch skill as his trump card. The cultivation method of the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body had already been integrated into the Xiao Yi's body. As the Xiao Yi of the Monarch Flame Fire Spirit, he could use both kinds of Monarch Flames. Of course, it couldn't be denied that the flames used were different, and the effects were different as well. Compared to the revolving flame Dao, the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body should be more perfect. These 2 Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Bodies are enhanced along with the powerful effects of the flames. But now, the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body is a Saint-level Monarch skill, so the space it can increase is much more powerful than the path of reincarnation fire. Xiao Yan was deep in thought. He could vaguely feel that if his strength reached a terrifying level one day, the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body was just a fixed low-grade holy arts. At that time, the help it would bring him would be greatly reduced. As the Monarch Flame secret skill that evolved with the enhancement of the flame, the help it brought him would definitely be greater than the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body at that time. After thinking about this, Xiao Yan also let out a long breath. The excitement of obtaining the Saint-grade Monarch skill in his heart had dissipated a lot. I wonder how strong I will become after using the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body. I think I should be able to fight a peak of Monarch Spirit. After using the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body, Xiao Yan could face 7 or 8 Monarch Spirit warriors. Although the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body had been strengthened by the 3000 Lightning Holy Arts, it had only reached the level of a mid-grade Monarch spell. If the Heavenly Monarch Fire Burning Body couldn't even fight a peak of Monarch Spirit Warrior, then it wouldn't be worthy of its name. Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at the darkening sky. He pondered for a moment, but still gave up on the idea of trying it out. The sky was getting dark, and no one knew what would happen at night. It would be safer for him to go to the city. With his current injuries, it was not suitable for him to spend the night outside. After making up his mind, Xiao Yan moved his body and rushed towards Four Direction City. As they got closer and closer to the border of Forest Domain, the cities along the way became more and more prosperous. Similar to the 4 cities that Xiao Yan was currently in, although their names were unknown, the number of people in the city was also very large. Compared to the Falling Rock City, the city was much more prosperous. After resting in Four Direction City for a night, Xiao Yan did not delay at all, and immediately set off for Wu Ning City, where the teleportation point to Linzhou Palace was located. After figuring out the possible small movements of the Lei clan, Xiao Yan vaguely felt a kind of oppression as if a storm was coming. 3 days after Xiao Yan left Xifang City, the 3 emperor experts of Deyang County were led by a tall middle-aged man to Xifang City. "What's going on? Why hasn't Suo Quan arrived yet?" the middle-aged man asked anxiously. His heart was full of suffering and regret. If he knew this earlier, he wouldn't have given up those formation materials. Although those things were worth a lot of money, they were far from being comparable to the Saint-grade monarch skill. However, he was so obsessed that he actually ordered those things to be taken back. Otherwise, he would have already started cultivating with the Saint-grade monarch skill. After waiting for half a day in Xiaohua City, the middle-aged man couldn't wait any longer. He rushed all the way to Xifang City. Could it be that something has happened? When he thought of this, Wan Ming felt a burst of irritation in his heart. He violently smashed his fist onto the luxurious table in front of him. The table shattered with a loud bang. "Sir, according to the information we received, the West Star City's city lord, Wu Zishan, has been away for a few days. Is this related to this matter?" At this moment, a subordinate of an emperor walked in and said respectfully to Wan Ming. "Wu Zishan?" When Wan Ming heard this, the veins on his forehead immediately popped up. After thinking for a while, he said in a deep voice, "Follow me to West Star City." As he spoke, he had already broken out of the door. The 3 Emperor Realm experts under him did not dare to show any neglect and hurriedly followed him out. Linxing City. As one of the most prosperous cities in the forest domain, the Linxing City was famous not only because of its prosperity, but also because it was the home of the Lei clan, one of the major families in the forest domain. The Linxing City was extremely vast, comparable to an ordinary county. At the east side of the Linxing City, the Lei clan mansion, which took up nearly 1/10 of the Linxing City, was built here. Within the secret chamber of the Lei clan, a few big shots from the Lei clan looked at the unconscious young man on the stone platform. Their eyes were fiery hot. One of the old men with white hair and beard looked at the old lady who was wearing a black robe and said, "Elder He Mo, thank you for your help." The old woman nodded and said with a smile, "Great elder, don't worry. This matter is a small matter. It concerns the advancement of the patriarch. It's a big matter. It concerns the prosperity of the Lei clan. I will do my best." After saying that, she walked to the side of the stone platform and extended her skinny right hand. A black origin monarch chi suddenly appeared on her right hand. In the blink of an eye, the old woman's right hand had become extremely illusory. Placing it on the head of the unconscious young man, the old woman lightly shouted. The black origin monarch chi in her hand crazily poured into the young man's head. Woo! The face of the unconscious young man twisted in pain. Even though he was unconscious, he still let out a low roar of pain. However, after a moment, the young man's face turned extremely pale, and there was no trace of blood on his face. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, the old woman finally stopped. In her illusory hand, there was a faintly discernible soul. Ha ha! Elder He Mo's soul-stealing technique is truly unparalleled. That's right. Not to mention that this brat is only a sovereign master, even an emperor cultivation expert wouldn't be able to withstand Elder He Mo's attack. When they saw the illusory soul in the old woman's hand, everyone who had witnessed the former many times was overjoyed and praised her. The old woman gently smiled and said, "Elders, you are being too serious. What is there to boast about such a small technique?" As she spoke, the old woman softly chanted a few incantations and threw the soul body in her hand upwards. In an instant, the soul body turned into a large screen and quickly displayed what Lei Te had experienced. Everyone stared at the soul screen. When they saw Lei Te's dissolute behavior, the old woman lightly laughed. With a twist of her fingers, the screen quickly flashed. Very quickly, the scene of Lei Te and Xiao Yan fighting appeared on the screen. When he saw that the young man who was fighting Lei Te was able to easily block the lightning accumulating pearl, the Lei clan's great elder's brows twitched. He recalled the words that Lei Dun had sent to him. He mumbled to himself, "Could it be this little guy?" When Qin Wei and Rek were confronting each other in the sea of clouds, a golden flame emerged in front of the young man. Everyone exclaimed in shock. That should be right, it's the 3000 lightning monarch flame. Everyone stared fixedly at the golden flame. That was the 3000 lightning monarch flame that the Lei clan had been searching for decades. That's right, it must be. The great elder regained his senses and took a deep breath. After carefully looking at the young man who had 3,000 lightning monarch flames, a trace of killing intent flashed across his eyes. He said in a cold voice, "I'll have to trouble everyone to take down this young man's appearance and distribute it to all the clansmen in the clan. Elders and guest chamberlains, from today onwards." He thoroughly investigated the Linxing city and the surrounding 100 miles. "Send powerful warriors to the transportation array. Anyone who teleports must be strictly inspected." "Yes," everyone replied when they heard this. Wu Ningcheng. After a few days of traveling, Xiao Yan finally arrived at the most important city of Wu Ning Prefecture. During these few days of traveling, Xiao Yan also tried to cultivate the heavenly monarch fire-burning body. Unfortunately, his own strength was too weak. After conversing with the Xiao Yi, Xiao Yan had a disappointed discovery. This was because he had used the monarch flame. If it was an ordinary beast fire, it wouldn't even be able to display 1/100th of its power. However, this is also unexpected. Just 1/10 of its power has already allowed me to increase my strength from 6 monarch spirit to around 4 monarch spirit. I can probably fight a peak of monarch spirit warrior head-on. Xiao Yan carefully felt the surging energy in his body after his cultivation. Comparing them in his heart, he thought, if I can fully use the heavenly monarch fire-burning body, I might be able to fight a powerful warrior like Wu Zishan with my current strength. After staying in Wu Ning City for a few days, Xiao Yan spent most of his time practicing the heavenly monarch fire-burning body, which made him more and more familiar with the holy arts. In West Star City, after a series of questioning, Wan Ming finally brought his men and arrived at the Lei clan station with an ashen face. When Lei Dun, the person in charge of the station, heard that the Princess of Deyong County had come personally, he hurriedly came out and respectfully brought the former to the living room. "One of my men dug out a storage ring ore in a ruin." Lord Lei should have heard of it. Suppressing the anxiety in his heart, Wan Ming greeted Lei Dun with a smile. Although he wasn't afraid of Lei Dun with his monarch emperor strength, even he was afraid of the power behind the latter. "I've heard a little about it. When I first heard about it, I was envious of Master Wan for a few days. After all, those ores are worth a lot of monarch crystals," Lei Dun said with a smile. At the same time, his mind was spinning quickly, thinking about why this guy came to West Star City. Could it be that the thing has been robbed? Lei Dun looked over. Sure enough, Wan Ming's smile instantly turned cold. "But my subordinate and I have searched the road several times, but we still couldn't find any trace of them. I think they must have been robbed. The West Star City Lord, Wu Zishan, has been away for a few days. I'm afraid that this matter has something to do with him." "Oh, if that's the case, then why didn't you look for Wu Zishan? Why did you come to my humble abode?" Lei Dun was also a little confused. How could Wu Zishan go and rob those ores? Could it be that he was a fool? Although those ores might be worth a lot, they could only be worth a few 100,000 at most. It was not worth offending Wan Ming for these few Wan Mings. "I heard that when Suo Quan and the others passed by the transportation array, the guest chamberlains under Sir used the shadow pearl to record the appearance of those guards. Can you lend it to me to take a look?" Lei Dun frowned slightly and looked at Wan Ming, whose face was ashen. He hesitated for a moment and nodded. With a flip of his palm, 2 shadow pearls appeared in his hand. After taking the shadow pearls, Wan Ming also took out one. He couldn't wait to look at it. He finished looking at the 20 people in the shadow pearls one by one. Wan Ming let out a breath and said goodbye to Lei Dun before leaving in a hurry. Lei Dun looked at the 4 people's disappearing figures and didn't say anything for a long time. A light flashed. After getting used to the light in front of him, he finally got used to it. Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at the blue sky. He took a deep breath. He had arrived at the Falling Star Palace.